7 hours is how long it takes.
And no-knead is the method.
This is what we are making.
So let's make it.
Let's make it.
Okay, so let's gather up all the ingredients. You'll need 200 grams of bread flour. High protein flour is the driving force behind the gluten strength in this recipe. 3 to 4 grams of salt. With all the rich flavor of fermentation that the yeast naturally creates in bread, it's going to taste flat and uninspiring without salt. Salt also tightens up the gluten structure and is all around pretty important. With that, we add the liquid, starting with 150 grams of fruit yeast water. This is our very own homemade natural yeast, of course. It is grape yeast water, that's why it looks so red, smells decadent, and looks a little bit like wine, doesn't it? To substitute, you can use 1/3 of a teaspoon of instant yeast and mix it with 150 grams of water. Next, we add 5 grams of olive oil. The dash of olive oil is something I really like. It adds its own unique taste, and it'll soften the bread by just a bit. Give you a better texture and mouthfeel. Since all the ingredients are in, we will now mix this thoroughly with our spatula. Again, this is a no-knead bread recipe, so this is the only mixing we'll do. The dough needs to be mixed until it's homogeneous. That's not to say, though, that we need to achieve a high level of gluten development. See, this is what the dough should look like when it's about done. It's still pretty shaggy, but it's already homogeneous. When you try to stretch it, it tears and breaks easily. That's perfectly fine, and it's what we're aiming for. So go and grab your silicone cover or plastic wrap kitchen towel and just cover the bowl. Happily walk away to let it rest for 45 minutes before we come back to do our first stretch and fold. Now we have a very soft and relaxed dough. Let's get started. This is how you stretch and fold. First, wet your hand. Pick up one side, pull it as high as it'll go, fold it back down, and repeat 3 more times, 1 for each side. Flip it over. Close and let it rest for 45 minutes, and then repeat the same steps for 2 to 3 more rounds. In the second round, you will find the dough easier to work with. It's starting to tighten up and isn't as sticky as in the previous round. We repeat the steps we did before, and the dough becomes plumpy. Such a fun word, plumpy. Flip it over, close and let it rest for another 45 minutes. By the last round, the dough strengthens and keeps its shape. Not sticky, very fluffy and jiggly. Just look at that jiggle. This can happen in the 3rd or the 4th round. It depends on our room temperature, humidity, the yeast freshness, dough condition, etc. We cover the bowl again and leave it for a final 45 minutes. To prevent sticking, let us dust our work surface with bread flour, and then gently put the dough onto this surface. We're going to lightly pre-shape this lazy dough into a boule. Using scrapers, we fold the edges to the center, This is to build surface tension on the bottom side of the dough. It's going to be a little bit sticky, however we'll try our best to refrain from adding too much flour. Then we flip it over, very gently to prevent degassing. We quickly tighten the dough by sliding our scraper around it and then using another one to push it forward. One more time to further round it up. Cover and let it bench rest for 20 minutes. Prepare the proofing container by lining with a cloth and dust generously with rice flour. Let's dust our work surface again. We're going to flip our dough with our scrapers. Okay. Fold the edges to the center and flip again. There we go. Tighten the dough by sliding our scraper around it and then pushing forward with the other one. Alright, that looks nice. These few rounds will build the initial tension on the surface. So just a couple more rounds. Just to get a lot smoother of a surface on top. A bit more flour. And then to further build the tension, we're going to round it into a ball. And then we put it into the proofing container. There we go. Sprinkle it with some more rice flour on top to prevent sticking. Wrap it up. Cover it again. Press it down with a board and let it proof for about 2 hours or until it has doubled in size. Here we are after 2 hours. About 25 minutes ago, we started to preheat the oven to 250 degrees Celsius, so it is now hot and ready. We're going to test the dough for their doneness by doing the so-called poke test. Dust a finger with some flour and then just poke the dough gently, just about a nail deep. If the dough is poked and the indentation comes back slowly and leaves a mark behind, then the dough is ready to go. Next thing to do is flip the dough out onto the parchment paper. You can just use your hand to hold the parchment and then flip the dough onto it. However, here I've got a nice wooden board that serves the purpose perfectly. Nice. And just peel off the corn. Isn't that pretty? Then we want to brush off the excess rice flour. This isn't strictly a necessary step. Honestly, you could go ahead and skip this. It just helps the bread look less pale later on. Alright, now here's the fun part, scoring. If we didn't score the bread, the dough would expand and tear in uncontrollable ways. So we're giving the bread dough a bit of an outlet to prevent that from happening. Quick and fast. The way I like to do it is just by holding a razor blade and then making one swift motion. Alright, scores are looking good. I'm going to move it into a glass casserole dish. The dish can be covered so it keeps the steam inside, which is what our bread needs to expand even more fully and really open up. It gets very hot though, so do be careful. You can also use a Dutch oven or just a baking pan turned over for this. Now, let's bake it. These temperatures and times may vary depending on your specific oven type, so make changes where needed. Just look at that rise. Isn't it beautiful? we go, it splits. And they're done. However, if we cut into them while they're still hot, we could compromise their internal structure, so we let them cool first. But we can test their crispiness and their hollowness. And finally, they are ready to be cut.
Yeah.
Crumb shot incoming. It's really good, but actually, I don't think we should cut it that soon. This one is still a little bit warm.
I know.
I can feel it. Oh, yeah, it tastes really good. Hot. I mean, we fermented this for like 6 hours, right?
More than 6 hours. 7 hours.
7 hours, right? It's worth it.
Yeah.
And that's it for today. Thanks for watching and bye!